Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's time again for the unfiltered news for this week of February and of last week of January. This is from January 27th through the 1st of February 2013. Headlines you may have missed, compiled by G. Edward Griffin and his News Scouts of the unfiltered news from the reality zone, where political correctness is not spoken here. And for this week's comic strip, we have item: President Obama claims to enjoy shooting. Yeah, shooting up the Constitution and we the people of the Bill of Rights and all that good stuff. Yep, that's Obama, our king-in-chief. He's not really a king, he's a dictator. Okay. This week's headlines. U.S. The IRS announced that Obamacare will cost the average family $20,000 per year for the cheapest coverage, and that's for a family of 5. The original estimate was $12,000 per year. Hooray for free health care from the government. Front Page Mag, 2013, February 1st. See, it's not free at all. You people have been hoodwinked again, believing in the mesmerizer and hypnotizer Obama. That's what he uses. He uses hypnosis and techniques of that nature to get you to do his biddings. Don't you know? Next, 2 U.S. virologists intentionally engineered a militarized version of the H5N1 avian flu capable of being transmitted to humans. That means they created a means to spark a global flu pandemic with the potential of killing or seriously injuring billions of people. Now they want to publish the recipe for this deadly strain in public journals. Their excuse is that enemies might be developing the same thing, so we need to push research forward to find a way to stop the virus. It is not difficult to see where this is headed, and it's not pretty. It's right. It's the next false flag, don't you know? Natural News, January 31st. Next headline: UN panel declares that an Israeli settlement on the West Bank violates international human rights laws and the Geneva Convention by moving its own people into territory inhabited by Palestinians, the real Semitics. You gotta remember that the Israelis, about 90% of them, are actually Central Asians and have no relationship to the 12 tribes. Israel could be held accountable for human rights violations in the International Criminal Court, HuffPost, January 31st. Syria filed a complaint with the UN over the Israeli airstrike on a military research center, and Iran has threatened that Israel will face serious consequences for the attack. Russian television, January 31st. And they did. They went in there and they attacked them and tried to make it look like Syria attacked. Well, it's now proven that no, it was the mercenaries that attacked. Anyways, Johnson & Johnson hid data showing a 40% failure rate of hip implants. The company currently is being sued by tens of thousands of hip replacement patients for knowingly selling a faulty hip implant device that generates loose metal shards and poisons patients' bloodstream, gives them blood poisoning. Internal documents show that J&J knew about the defective device for many years, but continued to deceptively market it as safe and effective. Money speaks above injury. Natural News, January 31st. France has a new law that mandates all non-resident lights, including businesses, must be turned off by 1 a.m. The country has been officially declared bankrupt, and it is hoped that turning off the lights will save some money. This is primarily a public relations stunt to show that politicians are doing something when in fact they are not seriously cutting the government spending. Daily Mail, January 30th. U.S. 3 more states consider laws that will make it an act of terrorism to report animal abusers at factory farms. The legislation is being prepared by lawyers funded by the same industries to be protected. Natural News, January 30th. That's right. They can just mutilate and destroy it. Have you ever went to Kentucky Fried Chicken and found that bones are broken in some of the chicken pieces? Well, those were broken before and not after they were cooked. Anywho, Massachusetts 5-year-old faces suspension for building a toy gun out of Legos and playing shoot 'em classmates. If he says bang bang a second time, he faces a 2-week suspension. Infowars, January 30th. Lego blocks. It's as bad as that girl who came in with a piece of paper. Apparently her parents tore off a square piece out of a piece of paper, so it looked like an L. And they said, oh, the classmates went, ooh, it looks like a gun. Ooh, ooh. See, even the children are brainwashed already to believing that guns are bad and not knowing that the Second Amendment is to protect us from tyrannical governments that we have coming into view now. Next, video. U.S. residents of Houston are frightened by military conducting helicopter raids, firing blank rounds into populated areas. Residents were not informed of the drill. Most were alarmed and somewhat unhappy about the exercise, but one clueless man says, if it's for our protection and peace, I'm happy about it. I'll give up my rights for a little protection so I have none. That's what he just said without saying it. ABC 13, January 29th. There's another brainwashed individual that doesn't understand what's going on. Fluoride does a great job to the brain, as well as the TV, the mesmerizer and hypnotizer box. Next, Indiana couple who saved a wounded baby deer and nursed it back to health faces $2,000 in fines and 60 days in jail for illegal possession of a deer. Really? The government agency behind this is the Indiana Department of Natural Resources, similar to the agency in Michigan that forced the small farmers in that state to kill their own baby pigs because they weren't all nice and white and pink looking. Natural News, January 29th. After a Kentucky coal miner blew the whistle on what he considered unsafe working conditions, he was fired from his welding job and sued by his former employer for filing a complaint to point out deeds against their own employees. Bad things will happen with them people if they keep working under those conditions. Trapped in mines and other things. Yes. Russian television, January 29th. Brazil. Troops bulldoze homes, leaving thousands homeless. Soldiers wearing United Nations emblems evicted whole towns. About 400,000 acres of land has been expropriated in the latest operation with no compensation offered to the victims. The objective is to create an Indian reservation. You know, the few for the many. When? January 29th. And that's what it comes down to. Can't live in peace with each other. They gotta make a reservation. Next video. Connecticut. Father of a child who was murdered at Sandy Hook Elementary School speaks against more gun laws. He points out that the shooters, like all criminals, broke many existing laws. More laws will make little difference. The real problem lies elsewhere. Say SSRIs. Freedom Outpost, January 28th. And it's mostly the people, most, if not 99% of them, were on SSRIs, retakes, basically Prozac and Pentat and Penopt and other medications that causes people to go into rages and things. They're supposed to be calming you down. They do the opposite after a certain amount of time when the serotonin levels go out of balance. Next, European Free Trade Association Court ruled in favor of Iceland when it refused to compel taxpayers to repay depositors who lost money when the country's banks failed in 2008. We agree with that decision and believe that if other governments took a similar stance, there would be a great deal of money lost that now is held by bankrupt banks. But the world finally would be rid of predator banking and economic recovery could begin. Without such correction, the money will be lost anyway through inflation and recovery will be impossible. Daily Mail, January 28. This is happening worldwide, not just in the U.S., but everywhere. The usury system needs to go. There needs to be no usury paid on money. No tax. No interest on money. We need to get rid of the money system that has usury attached to it. And go back to a system where there is no usury. The government prints the money under no taxes and no interest. Next, New York PD is planning to deploy naked body scanners on street corners as part of gun control rollout. New York City Police Commissioner Ray Kelly said that his force is testing the new technology. Prison Planet, January 28th. Right, they're going to x-ray you on the street now. If you didn't like the radiation at the airport, they're going to make sure you get a dose of the DNA unwinding radiation on the streets. Get ready to get sick and die. And make the medical associations and others buku bucks while you're trying to treat you and not cure you. Video, Iran denies a large explosion took place in its Fordow underground nuclear plant. Other sources report that the explosion was a successful attack with Israel as the chief suspect. YouTube, January 28th. Yes, they are trying their hardest. And they keep going on. I've seen on news, Fox especially, not even saying there was an explosion there. They're not even reporting it. They're still saying they're making stronger nuclear fuel for weapons, and that was the main place that they were actually doing that they were actually trying to increase the concentration of it up to 20%. And like I said, you can't add 20 plus 20 plus 20 and get, and plus 20 more and plus 20 more and try to get it 90 to 100% uranium. It just makes more. It doesn't make stronger. It just doesn't work that way. Anyways, and it's probably the centrifuge. They have to be changed out a lot over a period of time because the hexafluoride that they use in there for the centrifuges eats through everything, and it may have ate through some of the centrifuges and caused the explosion. That's what's coming out now. Next, many Colorado farmers will begin planting hemp this year. Although hemp is related to marijuana, it does not contain brain-altering THC. It is a useful plant that can replace plastics, is a high-protein food source, can be used as fuel, and much, much more. Therefore, it challenges established markets presently dominated by large corporations with political influence, which means the feds are likely to target hemp farmers for violating federal drug laws, even though hemp has nothing in it. Hemp is the wonder plant. It has 5,000 uses, and it will get rid of all the polluting corporations out there by using it. But the money junkies won't see that never happens. Natural Society, January 28th. Next article, U.S. group of senators, both Democrat and Republicans, propose citizenship to 11 million illegal immigrants. The plan would require aliens to pay their back taxes, pass a background check, learn English, and establish a work record. All of these requirements could be dropped at a later date. USA Today, January 28th. That's right. Obama needs voters to stay in for a third term, don't you know? And also they need warriors, because we don't have any more warriors. So they got to let 11 million people in that are young so they can sign up and say, you get your citizenship if you go over and throw your life on the bayonets of Israel and the U.S. to conquer the Middle East. That's what's really going on. Next video, the U.S. Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, unveiled a camera developed for spy drones that can produce high-resolution images from 17,500 feet. This video shows live action in a parking lot recorded from a drone that, at that altitude, appear as small white bird. The goal is to monitor all activity all the time, everywhere. Pop Science, January 28th. Huh. Welcome to the Matrix. U.S. Department of Energy proposes recycling radioactive scrap metal from government nuclear sites and allow it into the manufacture of consumer products. The goal is to avoid the cost of disposing this metal as toxic waste, but critics say that the contaminated metal would wind up in products like belt buckles, surgical hip implants. Washington Blog, 2013, January 28th. That's right. Get your radiation dosage. Fukushima's not putting out enough, apparently. Next, Egypt's President Morsi set to curfew and declared a state of emergency that grants him and the police extraordinary power when escalating violence threatened the government. He suspended the judicial process and most civil rights. The violence began in response to death sentences handed out down to 21 soccer fans who took part in a riot. Police killed 30 protesters, further angering the crowd and increasing national unrest. New York Times, January 27th. Yeah, he's pushing buttons over there. The people thought they were getting something like Obama was supposed to be, and like Obama's doing the same craziness over here. Look, we're not in the riots already from the things he's done. The NDAA, for one. Video, Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark announces that because police cannot always be able to respond quickly to a call for help, people should learn to protect themselves with a firearm instead of merely calling 911 and waiting for help. A shortage of police due to layoffs is part of the problem, but the advice is sound even without a police shortage. YouTube, January 26th. That's right. You call the police normally, even in a place where they have a lot of police, it still takes about 20-25 minutes for them to show up. And most of the time, if you had back in the old days when you were able to listen on the scanner before they scrambled the scanner, the police radios, they would sit outside going, "Is he gone yet? Shh, nope, not gone yet. Shh, okay, wait 2 more minutes. Shh." And they'd wait till the crime was over, and then they'd go in and stand there and say, "Look, we're here. We're going to go after the criminal now," and show off their uniforms and spiffy badges and all. Anywho, video. The hacktivist group known as Anonymous hacked into the U.S. Department of Justice sentencing website in protest of the aggressive prosecution of Aaron Swartz. Anonymous claims that they want the DOJ to stop prosecuting activists who oppose government control of the internet and threaten to intensify their attacks if their demands are not met. Notice that every time Anonymous makes a move of this kind, it turns public opinion in favor of the government. Who are these so-called anti-government hackers anyways? Who finances them? Who benefits? Cubono. YouTube, January 26th. And it probably is. Video, former CIA agent John Kirkaraku, I guess is how it's pronounced, who blew the whistle on the U.S. torture program, was sentenced to 30 months in jail for leaking and identifying a CIA agent to a reporter who never published the information. Kirkaraku says he was targeted for prosecution because he spoke out against torture. YouTube, January 26th. And it probably was. They do that all the time. You can't be a whistleblower. It's against the law now to say that that government is being criminal. It's okay if they're criminal. You can't be criminal. Next, Virginia, a young man who wrote the Fourth Amendment on his chest with a marker pen and displayed it in protest over being asked to submit to an intrusive body pat-down at an airport checkpoint, won a lawsuit against the TSA for detaining him. The court ruled that he was within his right to express himself under the First Amendment. Wired posted January 26. And you're allowed to. You're allowed to have rights. Don't let them tell you your rights don't exist, or they win. U.S. federal court rules that Obama violated the Constitution when he appointed his pro-union candidates to the National Labor Relations Board. While Congress was in recess, this ruling could affect other prior questionable appointments. The administration will contest the ruling, although Fox News, January 26, and they will. They think they're above the law. Somebody needs to stand up and say, you're not above the law. You put on your pants the same as everyone else. One leg at a time. Next video. Maine's Governor Paul LePage was criticized for saying that the IRS is like the Gestapo. Well, they are. However, many small businesses have been raided by federal agents and local police acting like Nazi stormtroopers. Yeah, they dress in black uniforms. The only thing missing is armbands. Treating employees and company owners like terrorists. In most cases, there are no charges against them. Here are a few recent examples on YouTube, January 26. That's right, the only thing missing on these police officers in black uniforms is the damn armbands. That's all. Oklahoma, pregnant woman sought medical treatment at a hospital but was jailed instead because she possessed 2 painkillers without a prescription. 2 hours later, she died. Is the so-called war on drugs insane or what? Stop the drug war, January 26. Wow. She went in for treatment and died in jail because the insanity of political correctness. Video. Ben Swan explains that stock market gains are not necessarily a harbinger of solid economy and that corporations are sitting on $2 trillion in cash instead of investing it in their businesses because of market uncertainty. Reality check, January 30th. Man, it's getting worse and worse. Video. Belgian member of parliament tells the truth about why France invaded Mali. It was to gain control of its gold and uranium. That's the same thing why UK and the US and France are getting involved. They got to get the gold to pay back Germany. It said 6 to 8 years. Their vaults are empty. They put it out there to cover the paper. Is what they did. They covered the paper out there. It says, I owe you this much gold in so many years, like 2 years. You can go and turn this paper in and get the gold. Well, they don't have the gold because they put more paper out than they have gold mined. And Western forces are intentionally destabilizing the Middle East and Africa to take over their resources. Multinational corporations are given privileged contracts in this process, and the war on terror is a lie used to justify attacks on these countries to steal their wealth. Yes, the truth is out there. Turn on captions beneath picture for English translation. Daily Mail, January 26. And that's what it's about. They don't have the gold, so they have to go invade these countries that done nothing and take over and put puppet governments in so they can control the gold mines and the mineral wealth. This is not only happening in Mali, but it's happening in Niger because they're both are gold-producing countries. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Last but not least, Canadian member of parliament warns that pharmaceutical companies have kept dangerous drugs on the market by suppressing negative data, lobbying politicians, and bribing doctors. That's what they do. The RX or the RX organization or the RXISK org is a new website that lists side effects of drugs with the goal of forcing accountability. You should look up all these SSRIs. You'll see that these people being put on these things are becoming nuts. National Post, January 26. Mike Rivero also was the first I heard about RX Risk organization. Kind of heard him pronounce that, but it's RX Risk or rxisk.org. Yes, that's what's happening. We are being hoodwinked by these people so they can make money. They're making up drugs out of nothing. These drugs are worse than heroin, worse than cocaine, worse than anything they got on the classification of 3. These drugs should be illegal. They're dangerous. They will kill you. They'll make you kill yourself or others. These are made out of fluoride. What do you expect? They're all fluoride derivatives. And now the cool down here. Okay, great photos. Nothing like a little nap in ice water. Click to enlarge. A polar bear in its pool that's laying there. You see that polar bear? See how he's laying on that water? You know, you had Al Gore doing the unnecessary whatever, his climate movie. I can't think of it anymore because he's already backed out of that. So he sold his TV station. He's been on many news sites now, and he's been saying, oh, and laughing about it, how he's made $35 million. Apparently he sold that so he could get his money back from the scam he was trying to pass over the world, the carbon tax scam, which Australia will probably be rebuting that. They're the only ones that were bought into it, was Australia, and no one else believed it. We're in a mini ice age right now, but no one understands that, and it's going to get worse over the next few years. The Times will be able to, you'll be able to walk across the Times in London in a few years. Okay, and this guy, you see that? Their hair is hollow. They float on the water. He was saying, oh, these polar bears on these little pieces of ice. Look at them. They're going to drown. No, look at him. He can float like that, like a boat on the ice, on the water. I mean, the only reason they're up on those little pieces of ice is because their eyes are like polarized lenses. They can see in the water and see when a seal or a fish swims by. And then they jump in and get it for dinner. That's what they do. And this is the proof right here. This is a picture proof of a polar bear and how buoyant they are on water. Man, we've been lied to so much. How can you believe anything that MSM says on the news? Alright, now here's your humor for the week. And this is another picture. Ducks experience water for the first time. Not funny, but makes you smile. Apparently they were captive. Unfiltered form, only in America. Also, when is enough enough? And so on. And that's the newsletter for this week from the Unfiltered News from the Reality Zone, compiled by G. Edward Griffin. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you have a wonderful night, wonderful weekend. It's going to snow in the Central Ohio Valley, 2 to 4 inches in Ohio. And besides that, that's about it. So until next time, be good, or be good at it, and have a good day tomorrow, the next day.